I love how the geese are chirping in the background, squawking, whatever geese do. It
Honk.
snowed here last night. Honking. The
Honking.
geese
Yes,
are
that's right.
honking.
Yes.
It snowed here last night, and they're probably out there similar to me, possibly, being like, "What?"
And it's funny you're saying that because I'm hearing the birds really singing, tweet, tweet, really singing as you were saying that about the geese. So they're
Yeah.
welcoming this new podcast.
Well, this new podcast, this new energy, this new year. And that took a while
Mhm.
for me to wrap my head around because I'm like, y'all know New Year's was in January. The solstice. And I'm like, okay, that's right. That's right. Because
Yes.
tomorrow being the 21st, the energy is shifting
It
into
actually was
oh,
last night. It was.
okay.
It was actually last night, depending where you were. You were 2 hours after me, so it was this morning for you. Um,
Okay.
and it was, it goes by the alignment of the sun. Sometimes it's the 20th, sometimes it's the 21st. This year, it's the 20th. Easter is very early this year for that reason, too. And it is in astrology the beginning of the Aries season, which is the beginning of the astrological wheel, the beginning of the astrological new year. It starts afresh, a brand new Aries, and Aries is the sign of the spark, the energy that's the cardinal of cardinal energies, what starts us, fire, this, big bang spark. This is the Aries energy. So
Oh, I'm enjoying it. I'm enjoying it. I'm glad that I listened to your um, message this morning about
mhm.
moving, how important movement is. And
Yeah.
that doesn't mean that you have to go to the gym. You can organize your home like I did. I organized an area in my office. I swept the floors. I cleaned the floors. I did the dishes. That that movement. Yeah.
The movement, I loved your message this morning because I had just sent a couple of my friends a message that said, "It is so important. We are building this new creation, this new world." And I tune into you, and that was your third card that you pulled this
Yeah.
morning.
Yeah.
Um, that this is this creation. We are stepping into it. Here's that Aries energy. We are stepping forward. And this is a very unusual, there's a word about the agreement around unusual energy. We've got this Aries season. It's about the inner warrior. It's about
Mm,
sitting with ourselves in silence, not in warring with ourselves, but the embracing of all of those things internally and really looking at who are we, the warrior within that wants us to be who we are, and being very authentic about it. That is this Aries North Node, Aries Chiron energy, masks off what is my soul sparking to step into, to own of
mm.
mine. And it's embracing all the parts of us, not changing them, embracing them. And that I signed up. So this is my New Year's resolution. I signed up for a meditation every morning at 9 o'clock. It's a gentleman who's been doing it for over 4 years. And that's what he talked about this morning was you are fine the way you are. Just get to know who you are.
Mm.
That so that was and that's exactly the card you pulled. So
Well,
we
and in knowing who we are, there's so much beauty in that. We're
mhm.
born with a capacity to dream. And by
Yep.
using our attention, wow, we've learned a whole new reality, a whole dream, and we have the ability to create a beautiful dream and a beautiful reality.
Yes.
So special. So
It
special.
it's
And
already it's already ours. If it's come into our understanding, it's ours.
yeah,
Otherwise it wouldn't be in our understanding. So that's our
yeah.
dreams. And we have a lot of Pisces energy going on right now. Um, which is the dream energy, they become delusions when we separate ourselves from that connectedness. And we go
Mm.
with what someone else has told us outside of ourselves. That's why this Aries energy is so interesting. This is about sitting with ourselves so we can see what we might have accepted outside of ourselves as the way it's supposed to
Mhm.
be. You know,
Yeah, yeah.
I find whenever
It's beautiful.
yeah, I find whenever I'm like this is the way it's supposed to be. Uh-oh, there's a limitation for me in there.
Mhm. Mhm.
Mhm.
And then the story sometimes, the reflections of the story in the now. So staying in the now moment, when the reflection comes in, the memory, looking at it now. Because as soon
Right,
as you said
right.
the delusion, I heard, "Oh my god, you're so delusional."
Mhm.
I
Right.
had to laugh. I had to laugh, right? Like it was just absolutely hilarious because in that voice, in that story, that was the reality of the other artist.
Yeah. And delusions are about what I tell myself as real.
Mhm.
And dreams are what I put into reality to create. And there's a difference. And, using outside measurements when someone else says, oh, you're delusional, that's their measurement. When I realize I'm
Yeah.
delusional, is because I bought into something someone has told me. Well, this is how it's going to go, and this is what it means. And it's like, oh, that's my delusion that somebody outside of me tells me something that is only true for me. This is
Yeah.
the way it's going to be. You're right, I'm wrong. There's that. What we're trying to do in this Aries energy is stop the separateness, stop the rules that things are not connected. It's interconnectedness. It's the recently I learned about the concept of what a warren is. When it's not
Yes.
a rabbit hole, it's a warren. It opens to a whole underground world, a whole interconnected world. And it's like,
Yeah.
oh, that's what we are as human beings. We are fine where we are. We're part of a warren.
Mhm. Mhm. And that warren can feel comfortable,
Hmm.
and that warren can feel uncomfortable. And that in itself is beautiful. It
Right.
it truly gives us an idea as to where we are, how we fit, whether that energy is dense in that we feel as though we are being held too tight. It's like of mice and men when he's holding the mouse too tight, or it's more expansive, and there's room for growth and new ideas and understanding and all that beautiful.
Yeah. That's one reason I don't use the terms lower and higher vibration. I use those terms.
Mhm.
Dense. I heard you say this morning, like that's denser expression and expanded expression. And what's interesting is as I expand, what was once expanded is a denser version of it. It just keeps there's an opening up, you know.
Mhm.
Um and we need denser expressions of things. We need to see them. We came in signed up for this to be present in all moments to how to stay connected, including in sadness, including in fears. Those energies teach us something as long as we don't hold them off and deny that they're there. So
Yes.
they're
It's the
lear-
coffee cup. Without the
Mhm.
coffee cup, which is dense, it would not hold the liquid, which is more fluid.
Yes.
We
And
need
and
both.
we came in to experience the limitations of expansion. We took a very physical form. And so,
Mhm.
I'm excited about the podcast because it gives us an opportunity to continually talk about what that means. You graciously the other night on for anyone who doesn't know, IOTS stands for Intuition of the Soul. Too long to write out. And we have a program once a month where we just talk about words. how we use them,
Mhm.
what they mean, the agreements we have around them. And it's important. This is how man right now uses its connectedness. Yes, there's an energy connection, and we use a lot of words. Though I think the most important thing I learned that night was the word wait. Why am I talking? you know, uh,
Beautiful, beautiful.
yeah.
Yeah.
Sometimes that's what it means. I'm sitting, and that includes why this Aries time is so interesting. I'm sitting with myself. Why am I talking in my head all the time?
Mm,
Why?
mhm.
So, what agreements do I have with myself that I'm so I have had times in my life where I would call myself a chirpy, like a
Yeah.
running all the time. And it's like, shh, be quiet for a minute, you know?
So I can think,
Yeah.
or so I can be thought.
Right. Oh, I like that. So I can be thought. Hmm.
Do we
So,
think a thought, or does a thought think us? It's such an interesting concept. It's such an interesting concept. And so much of what you said reminded me of mitote, which is the fifth agreements, the five
hmm,
agreements, where that noise in the head, a million thoughts, a million things. So many of the philosophers speak of that.
yes,
And it's noisy with a million things going on in your head. My head.
yes. And when I'm not in the silence, when I don't afford myself that, there's not room for other things to find me. I that concept was probably about a year and a half ago. Once someone looked at me and said, spirit's looking for you as much as you're looking for spirit. I'm like, what? you know? So perhaps when I'm a little more silent, he can find me.
Yeah.
I can
Yeah.
hear it.
And
Um,
as our intuitive abilities grow, as because intuitive abilities can develop into mediumship abilities, it can develop into channeling and abilities. And then we can begin to understand what it feels like when spirit's brushing against our cheek to remind us that they're here.
mhm.
That physical presence that's
Right.
not physical.
Sending us this number again to tune in.
Hmm.
Sending us, or running across a podcast, something that comes in front of us that has us go, "Whoa, little Scooby Doo, what?" you know, uh,
Yeah.
and so yeah, it's those agreements. That's what are they? What are agreements have we developed with ourselves, with our understanding, with who we are meant to be, and the fact that the concept we're always connected, always. We create our disconnections,
Hmm.
and they're to learn from, and we create them. I that is, and one of the best ways I remember to feel the connection is when I hold still and wait. Why am I talking?
Yes. Yes. And then to realize how spirit is communicating through you.
Mhm.
There's so many beautiful ways. Sometimes it can be a tickle in your nose. It can be a cough in your throat. It can be a physical feeling that something's coming forward.
Well,
So
the gentleman I signed up for my New Year's resolution. Today, he said, "You're radio. You're always tuning in to broadcast. And if you're in the static, that's what you're broadcasting is static. So when you're patient and you can become the radio, uh, you know, to channel, to
yeah,
whether it's mediumship, psychic ability, all of us channel, all of us have psychic ability, all of us have an ability to walk in and out of different worlds. We've created narratives that disconnect us.
so
So,
true. So true.
mhm.
And jumping into a really exciting agreement is we buy into that agreement.
Yes.
We
Yeah.
we
Oh, yeah.
buy in. We buy in with our energy. We buy in with our poker chips. like the energy pieces of life, because money is energy. So it's
Mhm.
like, I'm going to double down on that one. And I'm going to get really fierce about my discussion with you. And then if I go super, super far, I'm like, that's it, all in.
Right.
And we can do that with passion in the most positive creations. Like, and by positive, I mean expansive in that they are supporting other people. I think when we connect to that passion that allows us to give from our artist self to the world, that's when we move in a wonderful way.
Yes, and you and I were talking just before we went on about the fifth agreement, and I think the fifth agreement gives us the practice for the other four agreements. Um,
Mm.
and so if you don't know what we're talking about, there is a book called The Four Agreements, and a couple of years later, another book came out behind it called The Fifth Agreement, and it revisits the fourth agreement in through the eyes of this fifth agreement, like how we
Mhm.
show up. Um, and the fifth agreement is be skeptical. And they use say but, and I have a thing about but and, because as soon as you say but, you discount. So I challenge
Mhm.
everyone who might be watching this, see how many times you can substitute and, holding the polarities of what seems to be, rather than that. When we use but, it is in comparison and we're dismissing something. And more
Mhm.
times than not, and is appropriate. It's both things. So be skeptical and learn, learn to listen. That, and the skeptical part isn't not believing them, it's not believing, do I really understand what their agreement is around what they're saying? Do I
Mhm.
really know? It's all the work of Byron Katie. Do I really know what those words mean to them, or am I reacting to what those words mean to me?
Yes. The work by Byron Katie is a beautiful contribution to this world.
It is.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
Um,
Our agreements are so fierce. And I had a conversation early this morning with a client, and we were talking about work. Work is hard,
mhm.
client. Got to grow up and get a job. There isn't enough money. There isn't enough food. There isn't enough water. There isn't enough power. And how do all those thoughts make you feel?
Limited. Mhm.
Just shitty. Just
Yep.
shitty. Go get a real job.
As opposed to a fake job. Like what? Again, agreements around words. I am a bonus child. I have bonus brothers and sisters. I have additional brothers and sisters, non-biological brothers and sisters, whatever you want to say. My favorite one is when people say, who are your real brothers and sisters, as opposed to my fake ones, because I don't have any fake ones. It's uh, again, our agreements around words. And when somebody says, I understand what they're saying when they say real, or I think I do, they want to know the biology, the blood, who was in my family of origin. And my agreement around the word real is what? As the opposite is fake, inauthentic
Do
brothers
we
and
mean,
sisters.
do we mean children that we birthed? And again, is there an agreement that the child that was birthed is less of a value or less of a child in your relationship than the child that was gifted to you,
Hmm.
that became a part of your life later? It's so interesting. I was giggling this morning and I thought of you. We've had a lot of sassy conversations in the past, and I was using Gorilla Glue. And as I was putting the Gorilla Glue on, it was between you and something like a Betty White kind of comment. If they wanted to name the glue characterized by its strength, they should have called it vagina glue, because that's real strong.
Yeah, I'm not
The
sure
one
that
in my
I'm not
house.
I'm pretty sure that could cause, again, agreements, what people might think that's for. Yeah,
Oh, that might stir up some emotions, but it was
yeah,
just a funny moment. It was a fun moment. It was a joyful moment where the laughter bubbles over. Those are lovely moments.
mhm. And, this fifth agreement is just using discernment about, do I really know what somebody thinks? I'm going to be skeptical that I'm completely understanding everything at all times. And in this Aries time was sitting with myself, that includes what's going on in my own head. Oh, if I'm silent, I can feel into the energy and I understand. I don't need to be as skeptical. I need to learn to listen and listen to my emotions, listen to the energy, listen to what is sparking inside me. And we had a wonderful conversation about the word appease the other night.
Mhm.
You
We
know,
did. It was lovely.
you
It was
know,
lovely. We had yeah, it,
go ahead. Uh, um,
it was just such an eye-opening word. How often do we appease? What does appease mean? What are the different symbols that are attached to appease? A
mhm.
soother in a child's mouth to pacify is appeasing. And then the big discussion about soother versus thumb versus self-soothing versus, and again, separation versus recounting and comparing.
Right. And we think self-soothing is also good for us. So again, the agreement around that particular word was pretty astonishing. Any word, just like I just did the thing about and but. If you listen to people's conversations, think just listen how many times they say but, and did it negate what they had to say before it? Because but is a comparison word in its purest understanding. And if you teach elementary school, it's the first word they giggle about. Oh, you said but, and then you say, okay, that one you're giggling about has two T's. That is not the article, the one that is a comparison word. Though it
Yeah,
is kind of funny that what you sit on and that gets rid of stuff. And that's what but does. It gets rid of what was in front of it.
yeah,
So,
yeah.
you know,
It is. It
uh,
is. It's a beauty in explaining that. And when we're children, our agreements, like the expansiveness, are here.
mhm,
And then they grow. And then we get confused.
right. And just because it's that agreement between this ear and this ear doesn't mean that's the agreement between your ear and your ear. The one I love to use it about that is the word bottle.
Mm,
The word bottle for some people is a container, could be bottle up, as in holding something in, still a container, but holding it in. Or for some
yeah.
people, it's alcoholism.
Yes. Got to put
Some
down that bottle.
we put the bottle down. He lived by the bottle. Um, or it could, for some women who have issues with nursing and those very dogmatic people that breastfeeding versus
Mm.
bottle versus, has another whole agreement around the word. And it's in there. Whatever their experience with that word is, very simple word. I don't know what I'm tapping into. If I say something like, "Oh, look, there's a bottle on the ground." Oh, I might tap into a memory of somebody who has a visual of a parent or something surrounded in bottles. Or um, if you've had anyone with alcoholism in your family or drinkers, managing bottles is, and to me, is
Going
a
to the
knowing
bottle
all
depot.
that.
Bottle
Yeah,
depot. Bottle depot.
right.
And for anyone who's lived in a life whereby finances have been restricted or confined, when you live with an alcoholic, quite often there's extra money where the bottles are. So you're grateful for
Mhm.
the extra money where the bottles are because there's no money because the money was spent on the bottles.
Right.
Wow.
I
And
I
more compassion, more compassion, more compassion, more compassion. It's like I said on the intuition of the soul. It's that boat. We're all in the
Yes.
same boat. And I'm like, get out of my boat. You're not in my boat. Nobody's in my boat. It's my boat. We're not all in the same boat
Mhm. A
unless
lot
we're
of
all on
times
a
you're not even
ferry.
on the same ocean.
Unless we're on a ferry, and then there's lots of people on the boat, right?
Right. Um,
So
I usually know I'm on a ferry, though. So, like, I've made a decision to climb into a with other people, and even in that, though, I don't know who's having fears on that ferry, who is feeling ill because of the sway. Again, that's the idea of be skeptical
mhm,
and learn to listen, and that's what takes us back to the other 4. If I'm impeccable with my words, these are the 4 agreements if you don't know what they are. Be impeccable with your word, make no assumptions that you understand. There goes back to the skeptical piece. I have to be as clear with my own words as to be impeccable. Um, okay, help me. 'Cause this is where be impeccable with your word, make no assumptions. Oh, take nothing personally.
yes,
Again,
yeah,
your words are about you. Me making them about me is making it personal. And that's and the 4th one is my favorite one of all. Do your best. I still may step into I had a job once. I was an assistant special ed director in the biggest city in Maine. I was called special ed coordinator. And the landscape had, I would call it invisible poop piles. I would say something, doing my best, trying to do something, and I would be standing there, and I knew I was standing in something that smelled funny, and everybody was reacting, and it was invisible to me because I didn't know. And so
yes,
I was doing my best, and it still would be, people would call it landmines, whatever you want to call it. Uh, but I could smell, and people were reacting. I'm like, huh, something else is going on here. So now I can
yeah,
only be impeccable with my word. I'm not going to make an assumption that I know what's going on, and nor am I
yes.
going to take this personally.
So beautiful, so beautiful. We go into the job interview, and one of the
Mhm.
questions that is so often asked is, what is your 3 to 5 year plan? Not to be here is not appropriate unless you're being completely honest and impeccable with your word, put it out there right from the beginning. Often we give the answer that we want, that we think they want to hear. And in that, do your best. There was a time when I was living by the creed. There's a creed I've got above my kitchen sink, and it talks about working for the best, being the best. Oh, it's something, something creed. And so Spirit sent me an opportunity, and I was so excited because the company had best in the name. So I went to work for this company, and I was so excited. And the landmines were there, the shit storms were there. And there was this hidden language amongst people. And I'm quite good at that now, then not so much. And all of a sudden, there was like within a week, crystal clarity for me. And that voice that said, get out. And I stuck around for another 6 months.
Mhm. It, and that is part in this Aries journey of the warrior may be for me being quiet, having boundaries that as I sit there with myself, I realize I've let myself be bombarded and that in order for me to be quiet, I have to set some new boundaries in my head and outside of my head. It might be for me to really love myself. And ultimately, that's what this is about. It's a heart journey. How do I sit in my
Thank you.
heart? How do I use those agreements, those 4? And to me, the action is the 5th. I'm going to be skeptical and I'm going to learn to listen so that I can be impeccable with my words. I cannot make an assumption. That's I can do my best and I cannot take it personally because
Yeah.
my own I have been a longtime member of Al-Anon, and one of the first things I learned was my own life is barely my business, let alone somebody else's
Mhm.
life. And that has helped me um, with the difference between judgments, what Byron Katie talks about. Do you really know that's true about them? Or assessments for myself. The difference is when I am reacting to something, there's an assessment for me. Is this about something that is an activation in me that I'm willing to look at? Is it an activation in me to step back? As long as I'm making an assessment for my action, not about
Mm,
what they've done. And that's the difference for me between judgment and assessment. We took our a life as human beings. We're going to judge, assess. That's how we navigate. That's how we, you know, not take things personally. Oh, well, I'm feeling really worried about this. So that's not they've did this, so that made me worried. No. I
mhm,
worried because I might have assumed, I might have taken it personally, or on a real spiritual level, something is being activated in me. I don't use the word trigger
mhm,
for that reason.
mhm,
Something's activated for me to look at. It might be to step away. It might be there's something here for me to learn about. It might be a combination. And that activation means I'm going to take an action. Now, I have been very guilty in my lifetime of discounting myself. I should be able to get through this. I should like this person. And we've been taught, oh, it's a mirror of something negative in yourself you need to look at. No, that's an over application too. Bullshit.
mhm, mhm, mhm. Completely.
Sometimes
You mentioned a few conversations ago with me. I don't remember which one. Haunches. You get your
haunches up. Yeah.
haunches, your haunches up. And for anybody who has seen the movie Jurassic Park, there's a beautiful scene where there is a dinosaur dude at, I don't know, it's a dinosaur. And it like and
Oh, yeah.
that's what it can feel like that and it's an inner feeling. It's an activation and it's an opportunity. It's an opportunity. And when you stay inside and you work with that inner warrior, that goddess, inner heart energy. Wow. And I am applauding, like, woot, woot, the number of men that I'm working with who are
Mhm.
willing to do that. I had a conversation. I'm getting pinged a lot, Kitty. I'm getting pinged a lot by people on the back end that need to discuss my business with me, and it's my business. Because they want to help me get 15,000 new clients like Bafangulu. I don't know. I'm not interested. I'm just not interested, and I'm as polite as I possibly can. I like working with human beings, as do you. When you
Mhm.
do an astrology chart, there isn't a female, male, god, goddess astrology chart. There's an astrology chart.
Yes.
And when there's coaching and there's breakthrough, it's with human beings and animals. That's new. That's new. And when we get our haunches up, it's like an animal at a dog park. You've got your dog, Jack, and
Yes.
Jack knows when he doesn't like somebody. Did you force him to? No, Jack, play with the other puppy. Well, that can cause a lot of harm, and we can be at the vet later on and then start discussing whose bill it is. Those cause and effect, the roller coaster of actions. Be aware. Just be aware.
And I think that's really important to be aware. And that's when it becomes judgment and assessment. If I thinking there's a way for me to do this, it's if I get my haunches up, it, it's that just like a feeling, acknowledge they're up and then wait. Why am I talking? Wait for a minute to find out, is this a reminder of something? Is this, that's that reflection with my haunches up. Sometimes when my haunches up means I need to step back to be able to do that. Sometimes that
Mhm.
means run the other way. Sometimes it just means sit there for a little bit and figure that out. I know exactly that scene when the in Jurassic Park. And there's a fear there.
Oops.
There is an
Yeah.
unknown that sometimes when we get, when Jack's, I both Jack and Tabor, but Jack especially gets that streak down his spine. He's part whippet, so he's got that real wiry body, and you can see it from like, ooh, his haunches are up. He is cautious, and I'm pretty sure he's not in there going, "Oh, now don't be cautious," or "Get him." He's just waiting to see. He's stepping back, and
I wanna teach you something that you can try with Jack. Have you ever heard of Zuma pharmacology?
yes, I have heard of Zuma pharmacology. Yes.
Okay, so taking an essential oil, because people are very cautious about essential oils with animals. Importantly, it is a caution that is possible. So when you open up the bottle, you can immediately smell it depending upon the oil. This is spike lavender. It's what I've been using all week. And you can immediately smell it. There's a lot there. So when you open up the bottle, when there's an animal in the room, you open it up and cup it so that that smell doesn't come out right away. And you don't open it right next to the animal. You can do it in the next room, and the animal will either move away from you or come towards you. People are the same. Animals just have a better sense of smell.
Yes.
And it's really neat because if you see horses, it's very, very evident. A horse will do that thing with its lips. That's
Yeah.
my horse. But dogs and cats will do it too. The dog will lift its lips back. Cat will, and not even make the
Oh,
noise.
yeah, Jack has the Elvis snarl down sometimes, you know? Put and once in a while, he'll look at me, and he'll, like and I'm like, "Put Elvis away there. No Elvis, mama." So, yeah, and that's why I like the word activation more than trigger. Something
Yes.
about trigger is it's gone, I can't activation is I have some ability to do something here. It's activating me,
Mhm.
something to learn, and for me, it has been also to learn my own compassion. That was one of my words last year. I have words I do every year. I
Mm.
create cards.
Oh, I
Um,
love that.
so this year it's courage,
Okay.
confidence,
Gorgeous.
and understanding.
Mm.
And then, so I did started this a couple years ago, and last year was compassion.
Beautiful.
And um, I realized I did write 2022. I didn't write 2023, so I'm gonna go back and put that on there. Um, so one of the reasons compassion was a word for me last year was I would feel like I don't feel like I'm very compassionate. I would watch other
Mm.
people, and yet I know I was kind. I know I cared. Um, and I did realize I wasn't as compassionate because I wasn't very compassionate with myself. I had no compassion for when I
Mm.
didn't know what to do. There was like the way I look at it was like somebody me in there going, "Come on, come on, come on, come on, come on." No compassion for, I have no idea what to do. I don't know what I'm feeling. You're supposed to be in charge of you at all times. We have people who don't take responsibility, and then we have uber responsibility. Like the way
Mhm.
I did that, didn't I? And again,
But very much the drill sergeant. It's like, oh gosh, spirit speaks to me in music and television, and there is, a movie, it's got, Demi Moore, Jack Nicholson, A Few Good Men,
mhm.
and, like, it talks about the truth. That's why
You
they're telling
can't
you that.
handle the truth.
You can't handle the truth, and the
Right.
truth doesn't need you to believe it. The
No, I
truth
love that.
simply is, and it survives whether you believe it or not.
Mhm.
Lies need you to believe them.
Right. That's when we convince. Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
And if you don't
It
believe lies, they don't survive your skepticism and they just simply disappear. You don't need to prove somebody a liar. If you
right.
don't believe lies, they don't survive your skepticism and they simply disappear like a fart.
There's that fifth agreement, right?
Yeah.
And learn to listen. And um yeah, it is, if I'm not going to take things personally, I had to start with compassion for myself, that sometimes I just don't know. Sometimes compassion is, oh, you made a mistake, you know? Um, did you come to it with good intentions? Yeah. Or no. I knew I was jumping down the well with a flashlight. Usually I ask a friend to come with me, as I go into this well. Um,
Yeah.
you
Oh,
know,
well.
a well. And I have compassion that, oh, you really aren't perfect.
Mm.
This is part of, but that compassion is the gateway into self-love, self-infection, and ultimately unconditional love. The stone I'm working with this year is blue rose quartz. Blue rose quartz removes envy, jealousy, um, some judgments, but it's mainly unconditional affection, because that is easier for me to access. Puppies and kittens and standing at the ocean, to access those feelings. I know it's part of unconditional love. I can get, even to somebody who's driving me crazy or done some harm, I can have affection for, hey, they got their own issues. But I had to learn the compassion to go. So I have some affection for the fact that I get it. We all messed up sometimes. I can get to affection there more than I can get to, I love you unconditionally. I can get to, yeah, you're a little crazy for me. You're a little cray cray. I see that's a much more affectionate, and it's a judgment. It's all right. I can have some compassion for. All I know is that you and I, that's not feeling good for me, So
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it can be done in a soft, subtle way, that can whereby you can still own your true feelings and where you're at in this moment. So you can look at somebody, I've done this, whereby I'm like, I always smile when I look at you.
mhm,
And I got a little bit of a smirky, giggly. Inside, it's because like you're still an asshole. And I always smile when I look at you. It's not the
right,
kind of, if you know me well enough, you know that smile. If you don't, you don't. And only I know what created that smile.
right. And it's easy to get to the affection about, you're really kind of an ass. You can feel the difference between I hate you and the rage, and I'm certainly not getting to, oh, I love you because you're a human being. Oh, sorry, that's how I feel, like inside I'm going, oh, please, you know.
And they
Uh,
know it. They,
yeah,
they can they can they can sense it or they can't. That is it's a possibility of sense,
right.
depending
And
upon how much sense they have.
right. And uh, it's, I can seriously have some unconditional affection for the fact, like, you really are asleep at the wheel. It's like when I lose my temper when I'm driving. I've been known to sit. My favorite story, I'm going to tell you my favorite story about me losing my temper. I was young. I was in the car with my friend and we were in San Diego. She had, when I was 29, I took almost 11 months and drove around the country, the United States, all over by myself, camping. I met people, visited people. I had a couple times people flew out. It's 1989,
Wow.
before there were cell phones, before all of, we were
Yep.
always connected. And I had friends would fly and they would travel with me to a destination. So my friend, good friend's been my friend for 44 years. Suzanne was with me. We were in San Diego and we're driving on the expressway. And there was this padiddle just kind of, and I went to go around and they cut me off, and I was like, oh, and then they would slow down. They kind of drove and remind me of my wonderful Aunt Alice. Speed up, slow down, speed up, slow down. I remember that as a kid because I'd be going, would get car sick going.
We're sick.
Yeah, because she hit the brake a lot. So they were kind of driving like that. It was an older vehicle. So I raced around them and I took both of my fingers out and went, I was the driver, and I look over and I'm going like this. It's a car full of nuns.
Oh, Lord.
And they all turned at the same time as and they're full habits, the whole Whipple, and they all turn at the same time and look at me. So it was in unison. And Suzanne looks back at me and I'm like, I'm going to hell.
Oh, Lord. Oh my gosh.
28 years old, I'm going to hell. And, it from that point I have learned, and I still lose my temper sometimes and drive like a jackass.
I do. I have.
And I have learned to start saying things like, especially if they're not driving well or whatever, bless you, change me. Because often I can get by them. They arrive at the next light that I'm stopped at and they're fine. I've had this whole other thing.
They're fine.
They're fine. Those 4 nuns were fine. Except when they looked over and saw the 28-year-old going like,
yeah. I've changed my response as well. And now when I see someone swerving back and forth, fast forward, I'll come up beside them. If I see that they're on their phone, toot, toot. Toot, toot. It's just a toot, toot. I have a holder for my phone. And if I need to do something, I pull over.
Mm-hmm.
And if I catch myself outside of that agreement, then I'm like, oh, okay, come on, Nance.
Yep.
It's an agreement.
Remember
why you made that agreement, right? Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I did this past summer, 2023, there was a truck who was obviously driving aggressively, and I kind of joined in that vibe. I'm not the little old lady behind the wheel, just not. And he literally, there was a place to pass and he didn't get out of the fast lane. So I went to go by him and he purposely sped up so that I was going to run out of room. And as I was coming to it, I started to feel that tension. I'm doing, bless you, change me. Bless you, change me. And then all of a sudden I said, pull off the road, kitty. So I pulled off the road because he had been doing the brake check all the way. And I'm like, you know what? You're late. So just be late and get out of this. And I saw him go like, what did she do? And I, just went, this is where I
pause.
The truth. Yes, take the pause.
The pause. Take that moment. Take that breath. I have the opportunity this summer to be driving some vehicles whereby I will have to back up. And I heard it last night. Now this is going to be backing up. Everybody better move. And I listened, and I didn't talk. I listened. And inside, I started speaking to Spirit, and I said, Spirit, I'm really looking forward to the opportunity to be able to have a patient teacher who can teach me in a way that I haven't yet learned how to back up successfully.
Oh, I love that.
That's it. I haven't had a teacher who I've been able to successfully learn from.
I so understand that. I learned a game recently called cribbage. People have been trying to teach me for a long time. I had a good teacher. I learned it, and
we'll play crib together.
I really understand that you put that out there, learning to do that for yourself, especially when something's activating and you're moving into the
Mhm.
future. We'll go back to what we started with. And I'm not in the present. In the present, I am fine. Everything is done. Everything is paid. Everything is all of those things. When I start that anticipation, I love that exercise. I'm going to try that. I look forward to having this solved and be able to move on from that, to there will be enough money to pay for
Mm.
this. I,
And
I love that.
trusting the universal manager. I have a universal manager. I happen to know which of my guardian angels she is, and I assign to her the tasks that need to be done. And I bring in different angels depending upon which angel I need to um, that I'm looking for support from. I don't need support, but I am looking for support. In that moment, I'm looking for something because I don't need anything. It's already within me and I'm looking for it. When Emily passed away, the first book that I received was a book from a friend of mine, Messages from Your Angels. And she gave it to me shortly after Em passed. We had a good relationship. And she said, even if you can't read this now, Spirit asked me to bring you this book. Put it by your bedside, put it under your pillow, carry it in your purse. And when you're ready, you will know. I took that book, stuck it in the side drawer, thanked her. I'm like, angels? I was very, very, very activated by that book because in my mother's mind, the angels and everything galactic had stolen my daughter from me. I wasn't there. Now I have so many books on angels and I'm constantly learning so I can understand the different reflections through the words that were written. And words are symbols. We get
Yes,
we get we get something here. We get something here and we have to articulate
we,
it.
that goes back to that idea, the agreement I have around words, what they mean. Back to the example of bottle. The guest last month on Words of Wisdom said, think of them as spells, symbols,
Yeah.
spells. You're casting them. What your agreements are your agreements, your spell. That same word in somebody else's spell, that same symbol has a whole different meaning. So when I learn to wait, I love that, and be skeptical and learn to listen, I might have the energy of me understanding that spell, not by the words and my agreements around the words and their agreements around the words. So
It's
it's a
so beautiful. It's so beautiful
yeah,
because if you take the word spell to write something, I spelt it, I wrote it in the past. I'm going to be spelling it next week, a spelling bee, practice for your spelling bee. And then you take the word spells. Ooh, right? You
yeah,
know, you've got that other meaning of spells. And it's just like they're words. Words were created and expanded upon so that we could communicate.
right. So we could connect. And I do
Yeah.
believe we are evolving in this DNA to be able to connect beyond words. And part
Yes.
of that is to become these four agreements, impeccable with my words, not take other people's words personally. I'm not going to assume I know what they mean, and I'm going to do my best. And then I'm going to be skeptical, and I'm going to learn to listen.
Such beauty
So,
in that.
yes,
Such beauty in that.
it, um, just and that as we open those, you talked about denser and expanded, as we open that understanding of those denseness of the words and they expand, we are moving beyond words where they themselves will limit us to not, and we're going to move into some other expansion, and
Mhm.
when people talk about seeing galactics or angels, it usually isn't with words. One of the channels I follow, Bashar, talks about he brings his mind up. He knows that Bashar brings the vibration down to try, which is why when you hear a channel, they're kind of in a different rhythm. They're in the
Different
energy.
different tone, different
Mhm.
tone, different level of voice. There is the sway often, or the this you'll see because they're following they're following the visuals, and we're so
Right.
used to following a tennis game or whatnot that we go back and forth. There's a beauty, and that's why when you see different people practicing mediumship, different people practicing channeling, it's unique to them and whatever they are channeling. It's
Right.
cool.
It is. It's very cool, very different, very. I kind of always think they're looking to find a way to take this vibrational frequency that is expanded and bring it to a little denser expression so we can do something with it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's a challenge to express even when I know I will see colors and I'm like, okay, so the best words I can use to describe the colors that I just saw are these words. It's a pastel pink, and that pastel pink is rather iridescent, like it's pearlish, sparkly kind of
Mhm.
to describe the undescribable.
And they still may not see it the way I see it because they have a
I
different
know.
opinion. And
Yep,
that's the best we can do. It's not
that's it.
personal. It's a frequency, and if they, often though when you do things in colors, people will answer you in feelings. So they have picked up an energy
Mhm, mhm.
that is beyond that. It's why certain poems, you talked about what you have as I have one up here it's called The Invitation.
Oh,
And oh, you know that? The
you
Invitation?
Ryan Mountain Dreamer? Oh,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah, and I have it framed, and I've carried it from home to home, and it sits there, and once in a while, I just take it down to read it. What I
It's
want is all
beautiful.
beyond words. It's all
It's
beyond
beautiful.
words. Yeah.
I was looking on my phone because there is an entire there's a I don't know what it's called. There's a dictionary that is online that explains the meaning of words that are more current meaning of words.
Oh, so like the urban,
Yes, that's
yeah, the
it. Thank
urban,
you.
yeah.
Because when I say, "Oh my god, that's so stupid," that can be not a good thing, or, "Oh, it's stupid." It's a good thing. I have a hard time with that one.
Well, in Maine, we have an expression, "Oh, it's wicked." Well, there's a
Yeah,
lot of places in the world, wicked is evil, it's all these other things, but wicked is wicked cute, wicked funny, wicked, just it's a
radical,
feeling associated with
rad,
it.
so rad. All
Yeah,
those 80s words, right? The words
right,
that I used in the 80s when I was articulating my feelings, my expressions as an adolescent.
right. And there are words that age out, you know? Going postal. We know what that meant. That doesn't happen like that anymore,
Oh,
that
oh, what about this one? Make a collect call.
oh, yeah. Well,
Is it possible?
how do you collect a call? Like, yeah, like what does that mean? I don't even know if you can anymore.
When
Reverse
you
the
make a
charges?
collect call, reverse the
Yeah,
charges.
right.
I don't
Yeah,
if
I might
there's a phone booth, is if are there phone booths that are operational besides
there's
Batman's?
still
Yeah.
yeah, there's still some phone booths.
So
Very hard to find. Yeah,
perhaps.
it's so again, the agreements on words literally age out
Mhm.
sometimes. I remember being a teacher and the kids, oh, we have 1 minute left. Wow, this has gone fast. Um,
Yeah.
the kids talked about, oh, you got those big CDs. I'm like, big CDs? You mean records? Yeah, they called, they were big CDs. Yeah, the black ones, the big CDs. I said, they're called records. Records? Like in baseball? Hitting averages? Yeah. So just,
Mm-mm.
oh,
And then there's the different sizes of vinyl.
right. Oh, yeah.
I think there's
45,
3
78,
sizes?
33. Yeah. Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, so that's,
Words do phase out. So as words phase out, so do emotions and feelings. So if you can just Woosah. Breathe. Breathe. And another one that works well for me is to physically leave the space. If I just leave this room for a moment, go and do something else physical, and come back.
Right. That's a kind of pause. You talked about that in the cards today, a pause,
Yeah.
taking a pause. The other thing is for me, when something is new, I love the Japanese thought of shoshin, beginner's mind. Not don't let me bring in all this other stuff. If I'm learning something new, I have a beginner's mind. If I'm
I
going to
was not
be
paying attention to the comments. So hello, Kit.
yeah. Um,
Whoops.
I have a beginner's mind as I approach this. And so that sounds like a good place to end. Having a
It
beginner's
does.
mind on this beginner's
Beginner's mind. Yeah.
yes.
Yeah. Thank you so much. This was a blast. So see you
This was
next
a
Wednesday.
wonderful. See you next Wednesday. Looking forward to this.
Beautiful. I love it so much. Better
All
than
right.
see you next
Take-
Tuesday.
Yes. There's actually a great thing on TikTok where a woman is shutting down her boss and her cup says UNT and it just has the handle.
The handle.
Yeah. Yeah.
I love.
So,
I'm very happy with the way that we're advancing with.
yes. Words.
Yeah. Words. Words. That's it. Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay. See you next week.
See you next week.
Bye.
Bye.